Hey Floss Tube, this is Brian. Welcome back. I thought you would enjoy spending a little bit of time with me as I work on my duck. This is a Green Winged Teal. It's another one of the series of ducks that I've been stitching. This is the series that is in the For the Love of Cross. It was published in For the Love of Cross Stitch in the November 1994 and January 1995 issues. So if you're interested in stitching these ducks, that's where you would find them. I've been working on this for a week and about 3 or 4 days. I decided that now would be a good time to finish this. This is the 4th duck. After I finish this one, my ducks are all finished, and that will be great. I've been working on these for a couple of years now, so it'll be good to have them all finished. As you can see, I'm getting really close to being finished. You can see last night I hit this corner down here, and that's a cause for celebration because that means that I'm getting close, that my diagonals are going to start getting shorter, and that this is going to be done very, very soon. I really don't have all that much to stitch. I have about this much of the shelf. There's the sinker that attaches to the decoy right here. Of course, these are decoys, they're not ducks. And then I just have to finish his head. So I think he's really starting to look good. I really like this green color on his head, and it's really, really coming out good. So I thought you would like to spend some time with me. I don't think that I will be able to finish him on camera because that would take 3 or 4 hours, and I don't think you want to spend 3 or 4 hours with me. But I thought you'd like to spend a little bit of time with me. So I started working on finishing this part of his head in the diagonal, and now it's time to start working on this shelf. So first of all, I want to thank you guys all for coming back and spending some time with me. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And I hope that you enjoy what I have to share today. If you're returning, welcome. Thank you for coming back and putting up with me. Anyway, I'm stitching with 1 strand. The pattern calls for 1 strand on everything but the cloth and the duck. Those are 2 strands. So that kind of makes I think that makes the shelf kind of recede in the background a little bit, which is an effect that I like. But because I'm stitching 1 strand, I'm kind of doing cross country in a block. And I am counting at the same time, so hopefully I won't make a mistake. So that's why I'm not stitching column by column, is because this is 1 strand. I'll probably hit the sinker pretty soon, or the waiter. I don't know what the official term for it is, but and that'll be done in 2 strands. So I have the house all to myself tonight. I am sitting at my kitchen table. Half of my family is out of town, and my twins are at work. They work at a place that sells frozen yogurt, so they're working together tonight. So that gave me the opportunity to do a little bit of filming, so here I am. So, yeah. How are things going? Things have been going pretty good here. We've been dealing with a lot with the heat, and I don't know how much you know about Arizona summers. They're kind of different. I don't know if you guys know about our monsoon. In Arizona, we have a monsoon in the summer. And basically, it gets hot and it gets hotter, but at that time it's dry. So even though it's really hot, it can get really hot. Like last year at the end of June, we hit 119 degrees, and that was we had really high temperatures for an entire week, and that was one of the most miserable weeks that I think I've ever experienced weather-wise. But what's nice about when it's hot in June like that is because it's so dry, because it's a dry heat, it cools off at night. So in the morning you get up and it's relatively cool and it's not a problem. But right around the 4th of July, the monsoon starts up. And basically what happens is there's a high that sets up over Bermuda. I'm in the wrong place. Hold on. There's a high that sets up over Bermuda. And that high, coupled with the right conditions in California, starts pumping moisture up into Arizona from Mexico. And when that moisture hits the heat of the atmosphere, we get thunderstorms, and our thunderstorms can be they can be pretty violent thunderstorms. And the other thing that happens is we get dust storms. So the thunderstorms, as part of this change, the wind changes from coming from the west to coming from the east. So we have thunderstorms that develop kind of in the southeast of Phoenix, and they come into the valley, and when they hit the valley, the wind from the thunderstorm stirs up a bunch of dust. And so we get these great big huge dust storms. And because of that, I mean, those are pretty famous. I mean, it seems like every year, every once in a while, we get a really cool looking dust storm. The news channels, they like to have helicopters up so that they can take a picture of this great big dust cloud that's enveloping the entire valley. And they call it a haboob, which I guess is a word in Arabic for dust storm. And it just slowly swallows up the entire valley if it's strong enough. Sometimes we'll get dust storms and not any water at all, because the thunderstorm itself will hit if there's not enough moisture in the air, it'll hit you know what my problem is? Okay. Because there's no moisture in the air, not enough moisture in the air, the thunderstorm will collapse, basically. And so then we just get dust storms. But if there's enough moisture in the air, then we'll get some pretty big thunderstorms. And they can be kind of spotty. I mean, you can be in one place and have the sun out and have it nice and dry, and a mile later hit a pretty heavy thunderstorm with the rain coming down so hard that you can't hardly see Last week I was on the freeway and I couldn't figure out, I was on my way home from work and I couldn't figure out why the traffic was so bad because everybody was driving really slow. And I'm like, why is everybody driving slow? There shouldn't be any problems. It was kind of uncharacteristic. And then about a mile later, I found out why, and that's because I drove right into a storm, and it was the water was coming down so hard that it was hard to see. So I've got a couple of pictures I thought I'd share with you, just to kind of give you a feel for our thunderstorms. So this first picture, I took these pictures in the parking lot at work when I got out of work. And this is a picture, you can kind of see the dust. You can see that brown smudge kind of in the distance. That's a dust storm. And you see that, and you know that there's some wind and possibly some water coming. And then I have another picture. This is just a picture of storm clouds. So in June, the sky is blue. There's not ever a cloud in sight. But when the monsoon starts up, then we get a lot of clouds. And I really like this picture because of the light filtering from the sun down through the clouds. So I think, I don't know this for sure, but I think that when the east gets really hot, because of that high over Bermuda causes the east to be really hot. And when the east gets really hot, that's what kind of sets everything in motion and sets our monsoon going. We had a really active week last week. It kind of comes and goes. So last week it was really active. We had several days of thunderstorms. We had a couple of really nice storms. And then it's kind of died down again. And that's kind of been, generally it'll start with a big bang. And last week was kind of really humid, and that helped bring the temperature down a little bit. It was like moist. It's not moist like you have in, like, I guess you'd say muggy, because it's not humid like it gets like in Houston or anything like that. But you could just feel the water in the air, and the temperature was a little bit lower, so that's always nice. And then it's kind of dried out a little bit, and now we're just dealing with the heat. But it's more humid than it was back in June, so we're not cooling off at night. And that's really what I have. That's really what I don't like about Arizona summers is when the monsoon starts up. I should say when the humidity goes up, then it doesn't cool off at night, and we get lows of 95 degrees, and it's just miserable. You just want to be in cool air, and of course it's cool inside because of the air conditioning, but that's just not the same. So we really, in another month, I'll just be sick of it and be hoping for October to come, so that it'll start cooling down a little bit. So stitching this duck kind of reminds me of a story, and something else does. We don't see a lot of ducks around here because there's not really a lot of water, but we do every once in a while. And a couple of months ago, my wife and I were coming back from somewhere, and we saw a mallard duck in our neighborhood, and he looked like he was looking for a place to nest, because he was like sticking his bill into every little nook and cranny along the road, trying to It looked like he was looking for a place that he thought would be safe. And it reminded me that when we used to live in the Salt Lake Valley, and we lived on we had a pretty big yard. We lived on about a third of an acre and had a really nice yard with lots of grass. And on the south side, along the fence of our yard, we had a bed of iris. And one spring, we had a duck, a pair of ducks that decided that would be a good place to build a nest in our iris. And so, I thought that was pretty cool. It was kind of neat to have ducks nesting in our backyard. And they were there for a couple of months, and it was pretty amazing. I was really amazed because that mother, she nested on those eggs, and of course it was spring, so I started mowing the lawn, and I would pass right by her with the lawnmower, and she wouldn't even flinch, and she just stayed on her eggs, and I wasn't like any further away than a couple of feet, and she stayed on those eggs, and I didn't really disturb her. I just let her sit there. And about the time that the ducklings hatched, we had something going on at our house, and at the time my twins were really young. They would have been like 5 or 6, I guess. And I don't know, it may have been a birthday party because that's about the time of their birthday, or we may have had cousins who were visiting. I don't remember, but anyway, the kids were all outside playing in the yard, and one of them, I guess, got too close to the duck, and she came off of her nest, flapping her wings, and went straight across the yard, really low. And we thought, uh-oh. And so we told the kids to stay away from the nest, and they they continued to play, and nobody was hurt. I mean, she was just trying to scare them away, I think. She didn't attack any of them, really. But the next morning she'd moved her ducklings, and we didn't ever see them again. But my daughter has developed a real fear of birds, and especially ducks. And I didn't think about that until she was talking about it one day, and it was because of that experience. And I suspect it was her that got too close and had that duck come out after her. And she is deathly afraid of ducks. She's goes to school up in Provo at BYU, and I guess there's a pond over there where there's a bunch of ducks that swim in this pond, and she does everything that she can to avoid those ducks. She will walk clear over on the other side of the quad if they're near the sidewalk that she normally goes. So she probably does not really appreciate my ducks. It's been kind of fun to stitch them. Partly because, and I was just thinking about this today, I don't know, I think in the West, at least in Utah and Idaho and Arizona, about the only kind of duck that I've ever seen is mallards. I don't think I've ever seen another kind of duck. So the ducks that I know are mallards, and it's been kind of fun to stitch. I mean, I stitched the mallard first, but it's been kind of fun to stitch these other ducks and kind of see how different they are. You know, to me, duck means mallard. It doesn't mean like this teal duck, for example. Okay, so that's the end of a block, so I need to mark my chart for a second. So that I know where I am. Yeah, so if you watched my last video, I talked about my plans, and you may, if you remember what I said I was going to stitch, and now if you look at what I'm stitching, you'll see that that I'm not doing what I said I was going to do. And I'll talk about this a little bit more in my next video, but of course, I always reserve the right to change my mind about what I'm going to do, and I've completely changed my mind. Well, I guess not completely, but I got a real desire to work on Autumn Magic. I decided it was time to get that piece out and start working on it again, and I started stitching it, and I thought, and I really enjoyed stitching on it. It had been, 6 months, more than 6 months. The last time I worked on it was last November. So, yeah, it had been a long time. And I started working on it, and I thought, why have I not been working on this? Well, I know why, but it seems kind of silly now. I mean, I was working on it, and I wasn't in a really good mood that night, and I kept making mistakes, and I just got so frustrated that I put it up. And I thought, I'm not going to work on this for a while because I'm sick of it. But working on it last week, and you probably saw, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw my progress. I really enjoyed it. And it gave me a desire to work on it even more. And I thought, well, I guess, I talked about how I was going to have a focus piece. And I thought, well, I guess I could make, instead of making Let Freedom Ring my focus piece, I guess that I could make Autumn Magic my focus piece. Yeah, that might work. I thought, you know, and then I thought, oh, but I'll still only be working on it every other month, and that didn't seem like, well, once a month. And then I had another idea, and it kind of goes back to what I did. And my idea is instead of building up my starting with a rotation already in place, you know, with all of my whips, and I'm going to rotate through all of them. Maybe I could build my rotation up. So what I mean by that is stitch on Autumn Magic, and then stitch on another piece, and that would be, in this case, it's turning out to be my duck decoy. And then that gives me 2 pieces in my rotation. And then I go back through and I stitch Autumn Magic again. And I won't be stitching this because it'll be finished. I don't, based on my experience, this is going to be finished by the end of the week. Might even be finished tomorrow night. I don't know if I'll have it finished tonight, but maybe tomorrow. Anyway, so, but that would give me two pieces. So then I'm kind of planning on, when I finish this, putting in something else, replacing it with something else, and then adding a 3rd piece into my rotation. And just keep slowly building it up until I have all of my pieces in the rotation. And the reason why I thought about doing that is what that does is I'm kind of planning on front loading the pieces that are closer to being finished. And so what that will do is it'll make it so that I'll be working on those pieces more regularly, or I should say more frequently. And since I'm working on them more frequently, I will be more likely to finish them before I add another piece onto my rotation. So the idea is maybe I will be able to to finish a couple of pieces really quick and get my rotation down to a smaller number of pieces in my rotation, and without the pain of startitis, because I'll be adding a new piece in anyway. It'll be a piece that I've worked on, but it'll be new to the rotation. And I don't know. That's kind of what I've decided to do. So I am working on this, and then I'm trying to decide what I'll start next. But my idea is, and that will also make it so that I'm working on Autumn Magic. I really want to, the page that I am working on right now in Autumn Magic is just a miserably boring page to me. And it's boring because all it is greenery and tree branches. And yeah, so I just do not want to, I want to get through that page, because the next page that I work on will be house. And I am really excited to stitch that page, because that's where things I think are really going to start to come together a little bit more. And I think that seeing the house start to take shape will give me even more motivation to work on it. So doing that way, that'll make it so that I work on Autumn Magic like 4 or 5 times before the end of the year. Yeah, I'm a little bit crazy. I've kind of mapped out, well, I haven't mapped out everything that I'm going to do, but I've kind of mapped out where Autumn Magic falls till the end of the year. So I think I'm going to do that. And my only fear is that I'll burn myself out on Autumn Magic again. but we'll see what happens. I'm hoping that the excitement of seeing more stuff start to take place will take care of that. So yeah, so that's why I'm working on a piece that I didn't say anything about stitching in my last video, is because I'm hoping to finish this. Oh, and I talked about, in my last video, I talked about how I'd really been battling startitis. Well, my startitis is gone. So yes, having the strict rotation prevents me from getting startitis quite as much. So that's a good thing. Who knows? I may. So here's the thing. My birthday is coming up. My birthday is in October. And looking at things, the way I have things mapped out, that is when I will, the week of my birthday or the week before is when I will have a new start or time to add something else to my rotation. And who knows, if I feel comfortable, maybe I'll cheat a little bit and do a new start for that one. I don't know. I'm holding that out as a possibility. I'm not gonna say that's what's gonna happen, because then I'd have to decide what I was gonna start, and I haven't decided what I would start. So anyway, we'll see what happens. So you can follow along with me and see what I decide to do. Okay. Yeah, right here. Okay, that's that. Yeah. Sorry, I have to orient myself a little bit here. Okay, so there's another block. I've stitched 2 blocks so far tonight. You can see there's the weight. That's starting to take shape, and you can even see this down here. That's the rope that you use to attach it to the decoy. So yeah, this is coming along really well. I'm excited. I'm gonna get, based on the time, I'm going to get quite a bit. Well, I'm gonna at least finish this diagonal. Hopefully I'll be able to finish the head tonight too, and then I'll just have the rest of the table to stitch. So anyway, this looks good. Once again, thanks for spending time with me. As always, feel free to like, comment, or subscribe to my video. You can also follow me on Instagram at blitstitch. If you have any questions or anything that you think that I can help you with, feel free to let me know. I'm always here to be of help to you. Once again, thanks. Hope that you have a good week or so, and we will talk to you later. Goodbye.